This is a post-event recording of my presentation at the Microsoft Ignite conference. Be the Yammer rockstar at your organization with the Yammer Mobile App and device notifications. So before we get started, a little bit about me. I am a Microsoft MVP in the Office Servers and Services area with a focus on Yammer, basically Office 365. And in my day job, I'm an IT manager at Juniper Networks, where I'm the service owner for Yammer plus a bunch of other Office 365 services, including Teams and SharePoint and OneDrive. So in this session, we're going to talk about Yammer Mobile and some other things about how it can aid community managers, network admins, group owners, power users, and maybe even people that are just brand new to Yammer, and how to be more effective in their networks, how to be the rock star in their communities by being more engaged with their Yammer networks and their colleagues inside those Yammer networks. So we'll cover the Yammer mobile app, that's the focus. We'll also talk a little bit about email notifications and how those might be an aid to this engagement. And then also a little bit about putting it all together. In other words, how to be that person who's omnipresent in your network without going crazy. So it has a provocative title, Rockstar, really? Really? Well, let me give you a few examples of what I'm talking about of this sort of rockstar behavior. So in this particular example, this person posted in a Dutch office group in Yammer at the weekly cafe menu, and someone replied, and then I came in Friday morning and kind of jumped into the conversation, corrected a misunderstanding about the technology that was behind this, and suggested that yes, an image might be a better format than a PowerPoint slide. And then the guy wrote back, "Thanks for the precision, and wow, you even look at our post in the Dutch office, you're everywhere." Well, in fact, I am not everywhere in my network. I'm not reading every message, but there was a specific reason why this message was identified to me and why I jumped in and engaged with it, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So the second example is this message thread here. I posted a message on January 29th, 9:08 a.m. from my iPhone using the mobile app, and I replied this guy, Rami Rahim, and then he replied back 3 minutes later also from his iPhone. So does this look like a rock star kind of deal? Well, it might not on its face, but in fact, Rami Rahim is our company CEO, and this exchange took place during our company all hands, the quarterly all hands with everybody in the company. Now, to be fair, he didn't pull out his phone to reply to my message while he was up on stage. During this portion of the agenda, our chief financial officer was going over the quarterly results, and he was sitting in the audience, and he saw the notification that came in that he had been at mentioned, and then he jumped in. And obviously this specific interaction is not itself any great shakes, but to have a CEO demonstrate the kind of behaviors we like all of our executives that you're using Yammer to do, which is to be authentic, to be encouraging to teammates and employees, and in this case, be able to do so during the middle of the quarterly all hands is pretty cool. Rockstar moment for sure. All right, Yammer mobile app. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you have a sense of what the Yammer mobile app is, but let's make sure. Why do you have the Yammer mobile app? It's so you can use Yammer on your mobile device for iOS, Android, and Windows. And essentially, you use it for the same reason you have the mobile apps for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. You want to stay connected, in this case to coworkers, and those conversations while you're on the go. It allows you to stay on top of those messages wherever you are, and we'll talk about some scenarios where that makes sense. The Yammer mobile app is also really good about allowing you to engage with your groups in Yammer, so you can create groups, and obviously you can go in and see what's new in each of the groups, see what's new, answer questions, ask questions. And then lastly, from the mobile app standpoint, photos are a key use case for the mobile app because, first of all, most of us are taking photos only with our phones these days. And so I've got the photo, and why would I use photos with Yammer? Well, it could be a situation where a CEO comes to visit the field office, takes a picture with the team, and gives them, a pat on the back virtually for doing a great job. He can do that, or he or she can do that right from their own phone, post from Yammer, and go. Also, cases where someone might take a picture of something and post it to a facilities team and say, hey, there's a problem here, or this is a good idea, take a look at this thing I took a picture of, whatever. So photos are a really good use case for the mobile app, especially because that's where we're taking most of our photos, is on our smartphones. We'll also talk about Yammer notifications here, and there are two types of notifications in Yammer, and let's talk about the differences. First, inbox notifications. These are action-oriented notifications, things like when you get someone replies to one of your posts, or when you are specifically at mentioned. Yammer wants to highlight these messages. Hey, someone replied to your post, you probably want to see that. Maybe it's the answer you've been looking for. Or if someone at mentions you, presumably they're at mentioning you on purpose. They're like, hey, Kevin knows something about this, and then Kevin can be notified that, hey, you should be joining this conversation. There's also the bell notifications. These are softer notifications. Things like likes, new followers, poll votes, and praise. Things I might want to be aware of, but I probably don't need to take action, especially not immediately around. And the great thing with the mobile app for Yammer is that these notifications come to you, just like all your other mobile apps that have notifications built in, because this is integrated with your device's notification settings. So you get push notifications, and then you can have those notifications come where you want to have them. Maybe you want to have them on the lock screen or in the notification center, or maybe you just want to have a badge number on the icon to show how many notifications you have for that particular app. You could do all of these or some combination of them, and because it's on your device, you decide how you want to be notified. So this is a really great way for you to engage in Yammer in ways that are helpful for you. Another thing that people are doing these days is getting notifications not just on their phone, but on their wrist. Now, I happen to be an Apple Watch user, but you can get these kind of notifications on a number of other wearables. And it's really helpful to be able to see which messages you need to respond to immediately just with a glance at your wrist. So as an example, a notification comes in, I'm working at my desk or I'm someplace, I can look right at my watch and see this first message from Ulf. Can't we bidirectionally connect Yammer groups? It's a specific question for me as the service owner. I know this guy, when he asks a question, he wants an answer. I deserve it to give him an answer. This is one that I probably need to get to quickly. Either if I'm not doing anything, I might jump in right away, or I'll make some time next time I get a break to jump in there right away. The second message, someone mentioned me and said, thanks for a wonderful job, appreciate your support. That's nice to see. I might want to go back to that post and give that comment a like, but I probably don't need to drop everything to get going with that notification. So again, I don't have to pull out my phone, I don't have to be distracted, I can just look quickly at my wrist. So again, you can stay more engaged with Yammer without having to expend as much energy with these wearable notifications. There's a great new feature in the Android mobile app as well, where you can get push notifications for group messages. This is a brand new feature, and at the time of this recording is available in the Android app and coming soon to iOS. And essentially the idea is you can opt in into going into the group details panel and receive notifications, and then you can also just select multiple groups. Go through all the groups where you want to receive notifications of each and every message, because let's say, for example, I am the service owner for Yammer, and I want every message in the Yammer help group to come to me, whether or not I'm specifically mentioned. Now, with the Android app coming soon to iOS, you can get that right on your phone. So that's a great new feature for mobile engagement. Now, there are other ways to get notified about stuff that's happening in Yammer that I think are important here. Basically, there's a whole series of email notification features. One thing I'll suggest that you continue to leave on, this is a default setting, but sometimes people turn it off, but I think it's important to receive those inbox notifications in your email inbox. And it's because if for some reason you don't get them on the phone, this is a sort of a backup way of making sure you're notified about those important action-oriented notifications. So consider leaving that on and continuing to receive those via email. You can also subscribe to the group's messages via email as well. So this is what those of us who have been engaged with Yammer for many years have been doing. And like I said, this new mobile feature that just came out for Android, coming soon to iOS. Maybe I don't need to do this, but for people who want to choose, they certainly can. Click the little checkbox on your group, and you'll receive email notifications every time there's a message in that group. And they're nicely formatted, branded. Now, the one downside on this notification, it is a little bit abbreviated. So depending on the context, I may be able to know right away. And if I hit reply in my email client, type my message, it'll send it into Yammer. That's great. But in some cases, I may need to click the big giant view conversation button to be able to fully engage and understand what the question is to be able to reply. You can also use this feature if you're a network admin to monitor keywords in your network. So the idea is you can put these list of phrases or specific keywords into this admin panel, and anytime someone makes a post in your network with these words or phrases, it will send an email to the email address that's specified and give you a notification about what that is. And I'll show you what that looks like on the next slide. So you can see here, as the service owner for a number of these tools, I want to be notified in case anyone talks about SharePoint or Yammer or OneDrive anywhere in my network, whether or not it's in our official help site, but maybe in some other site. You can also see that this would be useful for bird words, so bad words, which I have omitted here from the slide for your prying eyes. But obviously, if people are using certain bad words, I might want to know about it and engage those users. You can also use this feature to monitor when new groups are created in your network. So anytime that someone creates a group in Yammer, a post is created that says Kevin Crossman has created the, and then the name of the group. So I have has created the in this as well, and I can monitor which anytime someone creates a new group. And that's super useful for me as the community manager, the network admin, to be able to see what's going on with that group. In some cases, people might create groups that are basically similar to some other group that already exists. I can, as a community manager, be able to come in and maybe play a little bit of a matchmaker and say, hey, you two folks are kind of interested in the same topic. Maybe you could combine forces, work together, instead of having two separate groups for more or less the same topic, that sort of thing. So it helps you be more engaged with your community. This is what that email looks like. Now, unlike the other one, this is not a nicely formatted email, but it does allow me to quickly click into the message, and you can see here, this was the post from that Dutch office that mentioned SharePoint. And so I was like, I wonder what that's about. I clicked in and saw what was going on. So that's why that particular message was flagged for me, because they were talking about SharePoint. And since I'm the service owner for SharePoint, I was engaging with them. Now let's talk about putting all this together. Now, many of us with our mobile devices, we wake up in the morning, we take a look at what's going on our phone. Which app do you open up first? Some people might look at their calendars. If you're interested in sports, maybe you look at one of those sports apps to see what the scores were overnight, something like that. But if you're trying to deal with work, maybe you're going to look at something like the Reminders app, or maybe email or the Yammer app. And those badging is actually kind of helpful at giving you a sense of what you might be in for. So as an example here, three notifications from Yammer probably takes me less time to go through and deal with than 31 emails. That feels like a lot. I'll be stuck in there forever. But I can get some work done, get engaged with Yammer pretty quickly with 3, and be done. And so think about ways that you can get in there, get something done quickly, right away in the morning, and makes you look great in your community. And when you go into the mobile app, it's super easy to figure out where you're going. You've got the inbox notifications, you've got the bell notifications. You tap on those, then of course you'll see what those are. You can start engaging. And then you can also go through your groups, and it shows you all the groups. These are my most frequently used groups, and then which ones have unread messages in them. And of course I can start at the top if I choose to, but I could jump straight into something like Ask the Executives, which is a new group, very high profile. 4 unread messages, I want to go in and see what's going on there as a priority over, say, something like Mac users. Maybe I'm not so interested in that on a daily basis. So getting started with Yammer is easy. In fact, I think if you take the idea that if you want to be an engaging network admin, community manager, group owner, do Yammer and coffee. Get your cup of coffee, get your phone or mobile device out, and take action. Go to that Yammer inbox, browse those groups. You're going to be done with Yammer before you're done with your coffee, because Yammer really makes it easy for you to go in and get stuff done. Now, we're all familiar with mobile apps like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. There's always something new to see. You can keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. There's always something. Why? Because those apps, they want you to stay in there for long periods of time so you can see all their ads and tap on their ads, etc. But Yammer is a work tool, but Team from Microsoft has built Yammer so that you can go in, get yourself up to date with what's happening, and then when you get to the end, there is actually an end, and you can put the phone down or the Yammer app at least, and get other work done. So as an example, when you go into groups in Yammer, both on the mobile device and on your desktop, it defaults to messages that are new, messages you have not read yet. Not necessarily the latest, but ones that you haven't read. So it prioritizes those in that new tab as the first things to take a look at. And if you'd rather look at all of the messages, and especially if you're looking at them in some sort of chronological order, you can click the All tab for that. And then when you scroll to the bottom of that group, it'll show you right at the bottom which group is next in the list that has unread messages. Just keep scrolling, tap on the Mac users, and then you can keep going and see all those messages, and so on and so forth. And then when you get to the end, you're at the end. So it makes it super fast to be able to go into Yammer, see what's new, engage with folks, answer questions, ask questions if you want to, and then you're done and you can do on your other tasks for the day. And of course, because it's a mobile app, you can stay connected to your Yammer network throughout the day by catching up on those notifications and email that you may have also set up, like I mentioned. You can check out Yammer in your breaks between meetings or while you're commuting, public transit only, hopefully. And then, of course, we've all done this. I've got my Skype for Business conference call going, and I might have my mobile phone, and I can check Yammer while that's happening, multitasking, right? So during the presentation, this would have been the point where I would have asked for Q&A. Obviously, in the recording, we're not going to do that. And, of course, you could evaluate the session if you were an Ignite attendee and give me feedback. Well, anyway, thanks for listening. Hope you appreciated this recording of my Ignite presentation. Thanks a lot.